Yeah, g'day viewers. Welcome to sunny but cold Australia. What I've got here is a 2015 Tesla that I bought second hand. I don't know the history of the car. It's got 45,000 kilometers or so on it. It's nearly 4 years old now. It's still under warranty, but I had issues where the rear door here, the alignment was not very good, and when you open the door, the window was hitting the chrome trim on the roof on the top here, and also a gap along here where the air would whistle through and rain would come through or water would get in there. The secondary seal would usually stop the water, and so what happens is, because when you open the door on these, as most of you are probably aware, the window drops slightly and then the door pops open so that it doesn't hit. But with this one, the issue was that when you open it, it would click on the top of there, which it isn't doing now. But what I found was, I took it to the Melbourne Service Centre in Victoria, Australia, and they had a go at it, but they ran out of time, and they actually charged me for it, even though that it was under warranty, and didn't manage to fix it. It actually came back slightly worse. It was sitting in a lot further at the bottom here, but still sitting out at the top, and then it never used to hit the chrome on the top here. The other side always has, but this side never used to hit the chrome. Well, now when you open the door, it was hitting on the top. So I had a bit of a look at it yesterday, and from looking online about other cars that are frameless windows, I found out that because hang on, I'll turn the music off. Sorry about that. Yeah, because the frame doesn't have actually anything to, there's no frame to guide the glass at the top here. It relies on two runners that run down like a track inside the door, and how that runner connects to that track determines how the window sits with respect to sort of the in and out plane. I don't know what you'd call it. So the alignment of those rails inside the door is fairly critical, and the only way to get these windows to sit closer to the car when the car is shut is to push the bottom of those rails out further. And if you look underneath the door, I don't know whether you'll be able to see it, under here there's a plug there, and there's a plug over the front here. I don't know how well you can see that. I'm filming this on my phone. I know it's not a very good video, but you remove those plugs, and up inside here is a 10mm nut, and that holds the bracket on the bottom of the rail to the door frame, and it's got a slot in it that goes in and out, and same with this one here. And so the idea is you can undo that nut, and as you move that further out and do it back up again, then theoretically the window should sit further in there. So I did that. I moved that out as possibly could, and I got it to sit a bit better. But the main thing that I found, you can probably see it fairly well with the sunlight there, was that the gap here on the top of the window was a lot larger than the gap here. In other words, the window itself was leaning too far forward on the car. So that meant that this top edge of the glass was sort of sitting down a little bit here inside the chrome frame. And in actual fact, when you looked at the rubber gap here as well, it wasn't an even rubber gap. It would be a small gap at the top, like the glass was over here, and would go back further and further and would sit out here. So the actual window itself needed to, comparing it to the other side of the car, the window had to go a little bit further back and a little bit further down at the front. And so how the window attaches to these runners on the one at the rear inside the door here, it's actually just like a pin that clicks in as you push the glass down into the runner. It just actually clicks into there. And the front one here has got a slot that goes down past a stud and you actually do up a bolt or nut that you can access from inside a hole in the inner door, and that actually clamps the window here. So you can actually loosen that off, move the front up and down, move the whole window forwards and backwards. It just slides around in the rear one here. And also on the aluminium housing or aluminium clamp arrangement, there's also like a plastic face that's curved, and you can actually lift that up and down, and that actually changes the angle that the clamp is trying to grab the window at as well. So I imagine that has some sort of impact on the angle that the front of the glass sits at. So anyway, I'm going to have a look now at, because I ran out of adjustment in the bottom two adjusters, and the top section of the rail is actually just bolted to a metal part of the inner door, so you can't adjust that besides putting spacers in there, but all you could do is space it further out. You can't put it further in. What I did notice, and I have seen on other people's videos, is that if you remove this chrome trim, there's actually a rubber lip and with a felt part that pushes on the window. And what Tesla do to try and push the window further in, they put just a rubber solid round, I don't know, about 8mm round piece of rubber in the channel, and that actually makes the felt part of the rubber seal push harder on the window and attempts to just push the window further in towards the car. So it's a bit of a dodgy fix as far as I'm concerned, but I'm going to have a look at seeing if there's any other way to make it sit better. And what I found was, if I remove the rubber that Tesla have put in there, if I took that out, the bottom of the window here sits out a lot nicer here, but probably maybe still a bit too proud of the window. So sort of needs the top of the rails to go further in, the bottom of the rails to come further out, and that would push the window in at the bottom and at the top. So I'll have a bit of a look at it and I'll see how I go. I know it's probably not going to be an easy fix, but I'll pull it apart and have a look. Okay, so as you can see, I've already got the door apart. I've got the door inner cover off, and took the speaker off as well to get access into here. So you can see down there that you can see the top of the stud, and it's a bit hard to tell. You can see the top of the stud that bolts in underneath the door on that front rail. So the front rail is there. The back rail, here's the back rail, and down there, let me see if you can see that. It's a bit hard with the light. Yeah, there you go. You can see the top of the stud there and the slot that it goes into, so that allows the bottom of the rail to be adjusted in and out. And that the window is partially down at the moment, so that's the rear runner that runs up and down the rail. And you can just see there's a stud or a little button that you push, and that can release the rear part of the glass. And the front part of the glass, you undo that nut there, and that actually undoes the clamp that holds onto the front part of the glass. These runners are actually the same as, like I said, maybe Mustangs or something like that use a similar sort of thing, and they generally have an adjuster screw here and a stopper, and there's actually a spot on the top of the rail here for them to top out on, but they don't put them in on, well, there's none in mine, so I had a look on Tesla spare parts websites, and the window regulators on the spare parts websites didn't show any screw adjusters in there either, so I'm assuming that they're not missing. I'm assuming that they've been removed, or they've been deleted from any necessary means to have them there. So anyway, I'll have a look and see what else I can do to get some more adjustment out of this window. Okay, now I've taken the rear window out, so now looking down inside the door, I know this isn't a very good video, but looking down inside the door, if I put my hand around inside the door, you can see the bracket that actually clamps the front section of the glass, and there's a plastic slide that's curved that runs around in here, and same with on the other face of it here, and they can be manipulated so that they will adjust the angle at which the bottom bracket of the window frame, which is it's upside down, but looks like that. And so that little fork there goes around that stud in the middle there, and you do up that nut. You can just see my finger touching there. And so yeah, obviously that will adjust the angle at which the window sits as well, so I'll have a play with that. When I pulled it apart, the bottom part of this bracket was not in that slot, so I don't know whether that was from the factory or what. That was sort of sitting on an angle, so that was out of the slot. So it wasn't really, whether they've done that in an attempt to make it sit at more of an angle, I'm not sure, but yeah, didn't really seem to do its job, so I'll keep looking. Okay, just a bit of an update to what I've done. I managed to get a small crowbar. Obviously not a Tesla tool. I managed to get a small crowbar behind the stud here and lift it up and actually force the bottom of the bent the bottom of the bracket slightly to push this bottom runner out. Rough as, I know, but it's the only way I can think about doing it. I haven't done anything to the bottom of this one yet. I'm going to try and push that across as well, and then I can move these back in towards the inner door, the studs here on the slots if I need to. And I undid this nut here for the back rail, and the back rail needs to come closer to the car, but obviously there's no way to bolt it any closer to the car because it's bolted to the inner door here. So what I did, I've done real dodgy here. I've used some 2.5mm pieces of plywood as packers, and I've actually packed that bracket out slightly to get the back of the bracket, which is the part that the runner is attached to. You can just see that black plastic runner down there on the rail. To get that to sit around a bit closer to the inside of the car, so the window will sit a bit further in. So I'll see how that goes. Okay, just a bit of an update. So far so good. The windows are lining a lot better than it was before, but this is the chrome trim off the top of the door here, and I'll just show you what Tesla's fix was. If you go in where my fingers are there, if you can see this rubber rod along here, I think they called it a rubber stuffer. They just put that inside that flap on the inner of the chrome trim, and what that does is puts pressure on the glass from this side and just pushes the glass in slightly, but of course it rubs harder against the glass, so if any grit, sand or whatever goes down here, obviously it's going to tend to scratch the glass from the pressure on it. Yeah, so that was, I think that was a $23 part from Tesla. Thanks very much. Not a very nice way to go about fixing it, but anyway, I'll see how I go once I get everything back together and see how the alignment goes. Okay, so there you have it. I've made that gap there even on the door by lifting the glass higher at the front so that it left that gap there but closed the gap at the top, which was really big, and also that closed the gap at the bottom and opened it at the top. It was quite narrow at the top and wide at the bottom when I the whole time I've had the car. Now, as you can see, looking down here, the glass actually sits quite flush to the pillar now and actually sits away from the chrome along the top here and lines up quite well all the way down the door. And at the rear here, when they put their rubber stuffer in, that part of the door, the glass was sitting right in, but still the top of it was sitting right out. So it's actually sitting fairly well flush now, as you can see. So I'll give it a try when I drive it, obviously. And when you open the door, it doesn't hit on the chrome, and it does up nicely against the roof rail. Now I've just got to fix the squeaky door handle. annoys me. And I'll give Tesla their little rubber stuffer back. Not the most elegant fix that they did. I'll probably clean the handprints off all the chrome and the window, unlike what the service center did as well. So there you go. So essentially all I've done is, as I said before, the adjustment on these bottom runners here, grab the light, the adjustment on these, the bottom runners at the bottom of the door, if you can just make out the slot down here, that had run out of adjustment, and so I just got a crowbar and I put it in there on top of the stud and just bent up and pushed the bottom of the runner in. And I sort of had to, on the back one, you can't really see because it's too dark obviously, but chuck the light in there. I got the crowbar in there, same again, on the top of that stud against the ear, levered it in a bit, and then on the top of this one here I put packers behind where the pulley is that the cable runs to make the back of this runner kink slightly back and sit a little bit further back to hold the bottom of the window in. And obviously by adjusting the angle that the runners are at, that pushes the top of the window in. So the only issue I can find now is if you look up here in the top of the rubber, because the window's been sitting out on the edge of the seal for so long, the seal no longer wants to roll around the glass and actually pull the glass in. So once the glass hits this inner lip here, it does tend to want to jump out a bit. If I just touch the glass ever so slightly, it'll stay in behind that rubber, but if I don't, it'll hit that rubber. So I don't know what other solution I can come up with there besides perhaps replacing the rubbers on the door, which in Australia, how we get ripped off over here, I imagine that'll be a very expensive fix. But I'll talk to Tesla about that and see what I can do. The car is still under warranty, but as I said last time, they charged me to even have a look at this and then didn't even fix it, so I was a bit pissed off at that. Anyway, hopefully that'll help somebody else out that's got the same issue, especially out of warranty. Thanks very much. Okay, just as a bonus bit of footage, I fixed the door as well. The issue was that the top of it was hitting here. It was just the whole door handle mechanism was just sitting a little bit far forward, so it doesn't squeak. No more squeaking. It was really annoying. I think topping out on that bit there. And so if I lock the car, the door handle's now sitting nicely in the gap. Before it had a big gap there and sitting way far forward there. I also found out that they hadn't, I think they replaced this door handle on my last service. It wouldn't present sometimes, and I think they replaced it, but the nuts that hold the door handle, there's one here that's quite easy to get to. There's one here that's easy to get to with the window up, and there's another one back here that's easy to get your arm in there and adjust, but this one here you can't get to when the window's in place. I don't think you can even get to it when the window, no, you couldn't even get to it when the window is fully down, so you'd obviously have to remove the window. That one wasn't even tight, so I had to get my hand in there and fiddle a bit and tightened it up. So it's all looking good now. All right, good luck people, catch you later. Oh yeah, by the way, thanks Rich Rebuilds. If it wasn't for you, mate, I would not know what I was looking at inside here, so thanks for giving me the confidence to have a go at it, and I'll put it all back together and hope and give it a try. Cheers mate.